Before we begin the service, we ask if you have a cell phone or pager, if you could turn it to the silent mode. We're going to begin with the 23rd Psalm. I'm going to read it in Hebrew, and then it's in the inside portion of the service folder. We can say it in English. Mizmor David, Adonai Elohecha b'nezeshi yabitzeni al ma menichot in aleinu. Nafshi yeshov v'enchenu b'maglei tzedek l'man shemo. Gam ki elach beged salmo vat lo yirada ki ati amadi. Shiftecha meshantecha himinachemuni tarech lefanai shelcha neged tzedoroi. Dishanta b'shemen reshi kosiri vaya achta v'chesedi define koya machayoi. V'shafti b'veis Adonai lo yidach yomim. We're going to say it in English now. It's on the service folder. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Some of the family members prepared a eulogy. I'll ask you to come forward.
Hello. Well, Dad, you finally made it on time for something. Jim Schwartz, my dad, was such a friendly, likable person. You can see that by all the close friends he's made and maintained over the years. From his early childhood at Greylock Camp to Cheltenham High School, Penn State, Villanova Law School, American Bar Association, and up until the end of his life. Jimmy was the kind of guy that can make a lifelong friend with the person next to him on an airplane. His humor was very uplifting. He can make a funny joke at any time, even in the darkest of times. As a father, he wasn't perfect. He would constantly run late. He was disorganized, and he would bite off more than he can chew. But during times of crisis, he would always jump into action, and he always had my back. Always. I loved him for that. I have such fond memories of him during childhood. He would take Blair and me on vacations that I hope would never end. He took me to more Bears games than I can count. As a kid, I begged him to take me to the movie Home Alone in the movie theaters. He finally reluctantly agreed. And then during the movie, he was laughing harder and louder than anyone in the whole movie theater. It's a happy memory. I've always been proud of his professional achievements. He knew the law very well and successfully represented countless amounts of clients over the years. Jim truly loved being a lawyer. My wife Kelsey and I were so happy he was able to come to our wedding and give a great speech that was very special to both of us. I'm also grateful I was able to spend time with him at the very end. The night before he passed, I brought him French onion soup, and his main concern was that it is extremely hot. The guy loved his soup hot and his ice cream extremely cold. I love you, Dad, and I will dearly miss you. Goodbye.
Today, we honor the life of my dad, James Schwartz, a man whose legacy will forever live in the memories of those who knew and loved him. As we come together to reflect on his life, it's hard to sum up everything he was in just a few words. My dad was many things to many people: a son, a brother, a father, an uncle, a grandfather, a lawyer, a mentor, and a friend. Each of those roles shaped who he was and how he impacted the people in his life. Dad was born in Philadelphia in 1949 to Harold and Mitzi Schwartz, and always adored his older brother Teddy. All our lives, my brother and I have been entertained with countless stories about Dad and Uncle Teddy's childhood. Notably, we heard about the time they decided to play Gotcha Last in the fine china department, resulting in several broken lamps and a ban on Schwartz's at Wanamaker's in Philadelphia. Even after they were both grown with families of their own, Dad lovingly recalled how his brother would come into his bedroom to cover him, bring him water, and rub his back. Dad and Uncle Teddy spent all of their childhood summers at Camp Greylock in Massachusetts, where many lifelong friendships were forged. To know my dad was to know and his love and devotion to Penn State University, where he spent 4 of the happiest years of his life. He immersed himself in everything Penn State had to offer. He was president of his fraternity, AE Pi, involved in student government, and worked on the student disciplinary board. His love for Penn State was so contagious that I caught the same bug and followed right in his footsteps by attending Penn State as well. In fact, my dad didn't just sing the Penn State alma mater, he used to quote the song to me when trying to make a point about growing up. Blair, he'd say, "When we stood at childhood's gate, thou didst mold us, dear old state." He was very persuasive. Dad would have stayed at Penn State forever, but they don't usually allow you to take 50 years to graduate, even if you are Jimmy Schwartz. Dad went on to Villanova Law School and continued to solidify an unbelievable network of friends and colleagues. My dad spent much of his life as a lawyer, which means naturally by now you're all wondering if you're being charged by the minute. Fear not, this one's on the house. My dad loved being a lawyer and was dedicated to the profession, specifically all of his work with the American Bar Association. He was known for his sharp intellect, an unwavering sense of justice, and the tenacity to fight for what was right. He took pride in helping others navigate the complexities of life. He advocated for those who needed it most and did so with integrity and steadfast sense of duty. Beyond his professional accomplishments, what stands out is my dad's love for his family. My early years with Dad were so much fun. Those of you from the Chicagoland area may recall a program popular in the 1980s called Indian Princesses. It was similar to Cub Scouts, but was only fathers and daughters and involved a lot of Native American cultural appropriation, which was more acceptable 40 years ago. Truly, the Indian Princess camping trips were some of the best times Dad and I spent together. We listened to ABBA songs on the drives up to Wisconsin. He taught me how to canoe, how not to drop the roasting marshmallow in the fire, and he didn't even yell at me when I secretly stowed about 24 caterpillars in the glove compartment of his car on the way home. Always young at heart, when my dad learned he was going to be a grandfather, he insisted that he was too young and instructed the kids to call him Granddude. After a while, he was known simply as Dude, and that seemed to suit him well. My dad took great joy in Bryn and Jack, and they always had fun with their dude. He took them to movies so that he could fall asleep and snore loudly, just as he did with my brother and me years before. Dad was so excited when Bryn committed to Penn State. 3 generations of Penn State, he would yell. He loved hearing from Bryn about her days in State College, and he would regale her about his time there back in the Stone Age. My dad leaves behind people in every facet of his life that will miss him dearly. At his core, he always wanted what was best for the people he cared about. Whether you were his client, his family, his friend, or even the random guy he struck up a conversation with online at United Airlines ticketing counter, he always made you feel like you mattered. Dad and I were planning a trip to see the ABBA Voyage concert in London this spring. It would have reprised a trip we took with my mom there 25 years ago, and we were both hoping he'd be well enough for us to go and sing our hearts out to the ABBA songbook. Sadly, he didn't make that last concert, but these ABBA lyrics seem a fitting send-off. So I say thank you for the music, the songs I'm singing. Thanks for all the joy they're bringing. Who can live without it, I ask in all honesty? What would life be? Without a song or a dance, what are we? So I say thank you for the music, for giving it to me. Thank you, Dad. I will love and miss you always.
My name is Gary Schlesinger, and other than the grandchildren, I'm the newest member of the family. I'm married to Liz, who was Jimmy's first wife and the mother of the grandchildren. And somehow when they got divorced, Jimmy wound up with the Bears tickets. And we invited Jimmy to our house for Thanksgiving so that he could spend time with his grandchildren. And in return, he would invite me periodically to go to a Bears game with him. In the old Chicago stadium, he had tickets on the south bleachers, on the south end zone, about 10 rows from the top. In the new Bears stadium, he was on the north 45-yard line, 6 rows up from the Bears bench. And I thought those were great seats until it rained. And then we were not under the overhead, but Gary Fensick and the other Bears were under the overhead, and they were obviously a lot smarter than Jimmy was about that issue. So the group of people who would go to those games became friends, even if only 8 or 10 times a year. And one day, the guys in the front row, the row right in front of us, turned to me and said, "You've come to quite a few games. How do you know Jimmy?" I said, "I'm married to his ex-wife." They laughed hysterically. That was so funny. Ha ha ha. No, really, how do you know him? "I'm married to his ex-wife." And Jimmy said, "It's true. He's married to Liz." So I got to know some of those people through him. I attended lots and lots of Bears games with him, some with Corey, and some with other friends. And so I became, as Liz described it, he treated me like a brother-in-law. So I got to know Jimmy, and I became friendly with him, and I too will miss him.
We're going to conclude with the memorial prayer. If we can have everybody please rise. El Molei Rachamim Shechen Bermermim Hamentzei Menucha Nechona Akanfei Hashchina B'Ma'alot Kedoshim Tohorim Kezorei Mazirim Es Nishmas James, the son of Harold Shehalach Lalamo Ba'avur Shanachnu Maspalalim Ba'ad Azkaras Nishmaso B'Gan Eidan Tehem L'Nechaso Nechein Ba'al Rachamim Yasireu B'Seisei Knafav Lo'olamim V'Yitzor B'Sar Chaim Es Nishmaso Adonai Hu Nachlato V'Yinoch B'Shalom Mishkava V'Namar Amen. In the English, we can read it. It's on the inside portion of a service folder. O God, full of compassion, Thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of Thy presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of James Schwartz, who is gone into eternity. Lord of mercy, bring him under the cover of Thy wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may he repose in peace. And let us say, Amen. Then, at the back portion of the service folder, we're going to say the mourner's Kaddish. Say it together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chilutei, v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beis Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach l'olam elomei omaya, Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yispa'ar v'yisramam v'yisnasei, v'yisadar v'yisalev v'yisalal, Shmei Dekucha B'Chu, Leila Minkar B'Chata V'Shirata, Tush B'Chata V'Nechamata, Damiran Belma V'Imru Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya, V'Chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. עושה שלום במרמיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו Amen. And to Jimmy we say, Lech b'shalom, v'sanuch b'shalom, v'samod l'garelecha l'ketz hayomin. Go in peace, repose in peace, and arise to the ultimate destiny at the end of days. In a couple of moments, when the cemetery workers have removed the equipment, we're going to have an opportunity to place a couple of measures of earth into the grave. So we may be seated, and once they remove the equipment, we'll have that opportunity.
on the vault now if they'd like to, or?
Yeah,
That
after
fine?
you remove the equipment.
Okay. Whatever you would like to do. Right now would be fine. Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is it's customary to place earth from Israel onto the grave. And also, everybody will put a couple of measures of earth onto the grave, and then the cemetery workers will do the rest. Okay, so they're gonna remove the equipment. Once they remove the equipment, we'll place a couple of measures of earth onto the grave, and then they'll do the rest.
However you want to do it, this will be easier right here. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
Why don't you come in? Where are you going? Okay. Go ahead. Anybody else wants to participate, they may do so. No? Okay. Questions? Do you want to witness them breaking everything down and doing everything? Do you want to? No.
Thank you so much.
We're going to be returning to the cars, and the cemetery workers will take it from there.
Thank you.